Hey, Shannon.
Okay.
How are you?
You see?
Boy, you're looking drab today.
Oh, I got my best. This is my best suit. Got on peak lapels.
Really?
Peaks are like normal. That's like for a formal occasion.
You know, one of these Sundays, I'm going to have to take you to church with me because you could go like that. Yeah.
Hey, I might get up in that pulpit, Skip.
My.
You know what I'm saying? Enjoy.
You do enough of that Monday through Friday right there, right?
Good morning, guys. Happy Friday. Let's get it started with Odell Beckham Jr. The Giants star reported to training camp yesterday, and now the focus is on his contract. Odell is set to make under $2 million this season. Since he entered the league, he is tied for the most receiving touchdowns, and he went on uninterrupted and made it clear he wants a lot more money. Let's take a listen.
Those are some tough lines to walk. It's like the elephant in the room, and you don't want to talk about it. And I've gotten to the point in my life where there's no need to not talk about it. I believe that I will be, hopefully not just the highest paid receiver in the league, but the highest paid, period.
Shannon, do you like that Odell said this?
It doesn't bother me. I'm a firm believer. All they can do is tell you no. If you shoot for the stars and you land on the moon, Skip, I think you'll be pretty happy with that. Clearly, he's outperformed his current contract. And the problem that I have with the NFL, and I have many, and I think I've voiced those problems on this show a lot. But the problem that I have, Skip, is that when you overperform a contract, the first thing the owners and general manager will say is that you're under contract. You signed the contract. But if you underperform that very said contract, they'll release you and says, well, he didn't meet the expectation. So now if I sign the contract and I overperform it, you can say, well, you signed it. If I underperform it, you don't mention anything about I signed the contract. So you want to get out from under it. Skip, I have no problem for this young man because he has outperformed his current contract. But he's in a very, very precarious situation. If you look at the guys that have gotten these new contracts, Julio Jones signed 5 years, $71 million, or about $47 million guaranteed. Dez got about $45 million guaranteed. Demaryius Thomas got about 43.5. What he's looking at, he's not looking at those contracts. He wants that outlier contract like Calvin Johnson. Calvin Johnson signed a contract in 2012, Skip. 8 years, $132 million, $16.5 million per season. They call it an outlier because we had never seen anything like that before, and we haven't seen anything like it since. And what the Detroit Lions did is something that only reserved normally for quarterbacks, Skip. They tore the contract completely up and started anew. $53 million fully guaranteed. Odell has this year and the fifth-year option. So what are you going to do, Odell? They're not going to give you that outlier contract. It's not going to happen. You're not going to be the highest paid player. But since you have 2 years, this is what we're willing to do for you, Odell. They're probably going to come to him and say, Skip, say something like this, Skip. Odell, you have 2 years left on your contract, and you have outperformed the contract, and we want to reward you for your performance. This is where we are. He's going to be somewhere in that Julio Jones, maybe $45 million, Skip, because he has 2 years. He can't get money as if he was free because he's not free. So in order to get some security, he's going to have to give up something on the front end. And I believe they can get this done. I believe if he come in at about $47 million, $47 million, they can get this deal done. But if he's thinking Calvin Johnson contract, that's not going to happen.
Okay. I hear everything you just said about how he has outperformed his current deal.
Do you agree?
I have no issue with that.
Okay.
He has certainly done that, in part because of where he was drafted, which was not his fault, on down the line, enough that it made him underpaid for his first 3 years in the league. I get all that. But that is not what the young man just said on Uninterrupted, as we just heard. He said the elephant in the room is that one day he's going to be, let's just face it, the highest paid player in the National Football League. He didn't say, I want to be the highest paid receiver in the National Football League. And you know what I think about how valuable a receiver is versus how valuable a quarterback really is. Right. So don't give me that you're going to make more than $25 million quarterback will make a year, because he won't. No, but in his head, that came across like he truly believes in his heart of hearts.
No, he doesn't.
Let's just face it. One day, it's the elephant right there beside me in the room. I'm going to be the highest paid player in the National Football League. Isn't that what I just heard him say?
Yeah.
Okay. So my conclusion is that even though I was astounded when I heard Odell say that, I was not surprised, because I've told you before, this young man, and I do like him. I can't help but like him, but I'm going to be real about him, harshly real about him. He is staggeringly delusional. He has lost all perspective about who he really is and how very little he has actually accomplished in the National Football League so far. So let me get this straight. He's already talking about that not wanting to be, that he will be the highest paid player one day in this league, when all he has to show for on his playoff resume right now is a grand total of one playoff game. Last year, a road wild card playoff game at Green Bay, before which he was the tour guide taking a group of his receivers to South Beach to prepare for a game at Lambeau Field. Am I right about that? Did that not happen?
It happened.
And during that game, let's just do the big picture first. Odell was targeted 11 times in that game, and he caught 4 balls for a grand total in that game of 28 yards. That was his lowest per catch in his career, and it happened in his first and only playoff game on the road at Lambeau Field, when I can make a case that he was the primary reason before the game that they lost that game. Not to mention that on the opening drive, Eli playoff hot. And they go boom, boom, boom down the field, and it's 3rd and 5 at the Green Bay 35. It's still 0-0. This is the Giants' first possession. And on 3rd and 5, Eli hits Odell with a perfect pass. Just hits him right in the hands for what is going to be a 10-yard gain. And what happened?
He dropped it.
The president of the yacht club, he dropped it. He dropped it. Cold dropped it in the cold in Lambeau, because he was down in South Beach getting ready for the cold at Lambeau Field. And they had to punt. And that was pretty much the end of the New York Football Giants, because they lost that game 38-13. So let's just look at his first 3 seasons so far. Again, he brought this up. I'm just reacting, okay? Talk about elephant in the room. Let's look at the elephant in Odell's room right now. Over his first 3 seasons in the National Football League, he has 83 fewer catches than Antonio Brown. That's a lot. 83 fewer. He has 751 fewer receiving yards than Julio Jones. That's a whole lot of yards. They've each played over these last 3 seasons. You know, Julio obviously in her prime, but 751 more receiving yards. And those two combined, Antonio and Julio, they're actually tied for first in catches for first downs over the last 3 years. Odell has 44 fewer catches for first downs than Julio and Antonio, tied for the top of that list. 44 fewer catches for first downs?
Skip, Skip, you're not. That's not fair, because you're taking Julio and Antonio their last 3 years, and you're looking at a guy in his rookie contract.
All right, but this is Odell. This is what a guy a lot of people are calling the greatest receiver ever.
He's not.
So he can't even, so far after 3 years. That's a pretty good body of work in the National Football League when you're this gifted.
Yeah.
You can't even make a case so far that you're just the best receiver in the National Football League, can you?
No, but Skip, if you look, let's take it this way. In his first 3 years, he's gone to the Pro Bowl 3 straight times.
I give you that.
He's been voted to the All-Pro team second on the second team All-Pro last year and the year before.
Okay.
Since he's come into the league, only 4 players have had more touchdowns in their first 3 seasons. Let's see if you heard of this guy. One of them is Randy Moss, who's probably going to be in the Hall of Fame this year. Jerry Rice, you ever heard of that guy? The greatest receiver to ever live. Rob Gronkowski, I mentioned his numbers yesterday. And the Moon Man, a lot of people don't remember him. John Jefferson, I know you remember him, the great San Diego Charger and New Orleans Saints. So in the 98-year history of the NFL, only 4 men in their first 3 years have more touchdown catches. You told me now you value points. Because I'll tell you, they give up all these yards. You say the number 1 scoring defense or the number 1 scoring offense. You want catches or you want points?
I want playoff resume. I want playoff wins. I want playoff appearances. So in 3 years, the dynamic Odell, who's high on your first 3-year list, has played in one playoff game. He has lifted the New York Football Giants to one big wipeout road playoff game that now lives in infamy in Giants history. Wow. That's all you got? So you brought up that guy. Who's that guy? Jerry Rice?
Yes.
In his career, he played in 29 playoff games.
Yes.
And won 3 rings.
Yes.
The great Shannon Sharp, who sits right across from me now, played in 18 playoff games and won 3 rings. Odell, 1 playoff game.
He's only 3 years.
A road wild card game that lives in infamy because he went to South
Well,
Beach
he's gonna play in some
and
playoff-
prepped on a yacht.
He will play in playoff games this year.
Well, yeah,
because you know where I got to go with.
Okay, but again, he's already talking about, this is my context, I'm going to be the highest paid player. If we're talking brand, does Odell have the biggest brand among all receivers in pro football? He might have one of the biggest brands of all in pro football, right?
Yes.
I give you that. He's got his own clothing line, and he plays in the Big Apple. Boom, boom. I give you that.
He got a $5 million shoe contract.
Okay, all right, okay, I give you all that. But so far, Odell is better known for his hair than his playoff record, right? Is that fair to say?
Yes.
So far, he's better known for being a thin-skinned, tantrum-throwing, emotional basket case than for his production as a wide receiver. Seriously, I know him for the Josh Norman game when he just completely went over the edge and lost it. I know it for taking it out on the kicking net, going crazy in the Josh Norman rematch. I know him for all that. But I know the pregame circus catch routine. I know all that. I'm very well aware of that. And I know that he made the greatest catch in NFL history in a losing effort against my Dallas Cowboys as a rookie, right? I know that. But that's what I know, because I certainly don't want to know that as a starter for the Giants, he's played in now 43 games and he's 21 and 22. 21 and 22,
So let me,
and you're going to be the highest paid player in pro football?
So hold on.
Really?
So I just want to make it.
Help me out.
Okay, I'm trying to help you out here. You believe that he's outperformed his current contract. Am I correct?
Well, sure he has.
Okay,
But he makes like what, 1.8?
Yes.
Yeah.
So the problem that you have with him is not being the highest paid receiver. You have a problem if he's going to be the highest paid player. Skip, he's just talking. That's
not just talking. He said it dead seriously.
Skip.
You know it and I know it. It's the elephant in the room.
Skip, you and I know he's not going to get quarterback money. No receiver has approached Calvin Johnson's numbers in 6 years, Skip. That's an outlier, which means we had never seen it before.
But he didn't say, I'm going to be the highest paid receiver. He said player.
Skip.
You know it and I know it. It's delusional.
Yeah, Skip.
It's scary delusional.
Skip. What does it hurt to ask? All they can do is tell you no. What if they says, okay, Odell, you know what? We want to keep you in this uniform. We're going to give you $20 million a year.
Yeah.
If you close mouth, don't get fed. So all he's doing is asking. You and I know, everybody in the United States that watches football knows Odell Beckham Jr. is not going to get quarterback money.
Okay.
So he's just talking, Skip. Are you taking him literally? Do you actually believe?
I'm taking him literally. And this is what really, really offends me. And this is old
He plays
school.
for the Giants. That's what offends you. And he
doesn't.
busts your Cowboys up.
You know what? I love it that he plays for the Giants, because this is big advantage Dallas Cowboys.
How?
Because he's going to be a thorn in Giants Nation's side before
Cowboys
this is over.
Nation too.
He's setting himself up for this psyche-shattering frustration that's going to boil over again and again, because he's going to think in his head, I have my own clothing line. I should be the highest paid player, but Eli's not throwing me enough passes. And okay, I dropped a couple, but throw me some more. Throw me some more. No. And he goes crazy and goes and takes it out on the kicking net. That's what's going to happen again and again and again.
What was Dez Bryant's playoff record in his first 3 years?
I don't care. We're not talking about Dez Bryant. I can't defend. I'm down on Dez Bryant. I've been harshly honest about Dez. He's not a leader of my Cowboys. He's just another cog to me. He's a very good receiver, but he's not a top one.
Skip, all the man can do is ask.
Okay, so what do I know so far about Odell? I know that he toured Europe with Drake. Wow. Impressive.
It's the
And I know it's all over social media because he lives on social media promoting himself and his brand. And I know that Odell was front and center at the NCAA basketball championship game instead of being at Eli's passing camp, right? And I know that because I saw it on social media. I saw it on Instagram.
What you doing on social media?
I just know it's everywhere. I can't get away from it. It just like haunts me all night long.
Stay off social media.
It does.
Stay off.
It's just in my face. But I know that Odell was working out with Johnny Manziel instead of being at Giants OTAs. I know that because I saw it on his Instagram. I did. This is the guy who wants to be the highest paid player in the league. He has no clue, lost all perspective. Again, if you were out there working at it, grinding on it, like Shannon Sharp did when he was a player, I would say, okay, I get where you're going with this, but I don't get any of this because it's all about a brand play. He's trying to tell his fans, I deserve to be the highest paid player in all of football. And his fans are saying, go, Odell, go, until it's playoff time. And then buy Odell, buy.
But Skip, we know he's not going to get that money. Skip, I don't have a problem. OTAs, when it's mandatory. I'm not going to be hypocritical. I went to nothing. Shannon Sharp did not attend anything that was not mandatory. Shannon Sharp's going to be a leader, but he's going to be leading from Atlanta. So when it's mandatory, I'm going to come see.
Were you touring Europe with Drake?
No. First of all, Skip, you know I don't like to travel. I don't like to leave my house. If you want to know where Shannon is, he's training or he's at the movie.
Okay, there we go. Thank you.
Skip.
I'll pay for that. I'll give you what you're worth for that. Because you're going to be worth a whole lot to my football team.
But Skip, we're in a different time. Skip, I had to change my way of thinking. I thought like you did because I came up through the old rankings and you did things this way, but it's a new era now. This social media, it'll make you a superstar even if you're not one. And this guy, he's a bona fide superstar. He's an elite receiver. He should be compensated as such for the simple fact he's outperformed his current contract. He's not getting quarterback money. He's not going to be the highest paid player. That's not going to happen. But it does not hurt him to ask. All the Giants can say, Jerry Reese and John Maher, the co-owner, because the Tisch family owns 50% of it. All he can do is ask. Says, guys, this is what I want. They can say, okay, Odell, sure. Or they can say, no, let's come to something more reasonable, something in line with the top rated contracts. $47 million, Julio Jones. Dez is $45 guaranteed. Demaryius Thomas is $43.5 guaranteed. So he's going to come in somewhere between that, Skip, because he has 2 years. He's not in an advantageous situation because he has 2 years. Now, he was at the end of that 4th year. Now he has a little more leverage. But, Skip, not only do they have this year and the 5th year option, they got 2 years of franchise tags. So what do you want to do, Odell? How you want to play this out? You want to take the bird in the hand with 40+ million, or you want to try to hold out to those 5 in the bushes? Because when you get to those 5 in the bushes, they might be gone. So I'm going to take this bird that I got in his hand, and I'm going to be happy with that.
What do you think the Maras and the Tisches and the Jerry Reeses of the world thought when they watched him say that? I'm going to be the highest paid player.
They didn't think anything.
Yeah, they rolled their eyes and said,
and if I'm Odell Beckham, what am I thinking when John Mara gave Josh Brown 2 years, $4 million, who had admitted he abused his wife? What was Odell thinking when he did that? Okay, you going to pay him? You might not like my antics, and I might be somewhat of a distraction by kicking the net and stomping my feet and getting in scuffles on the field. But I've been a model citizen off of it. You mad because you won't go. You can't. Hey, go.
You know what?
You go tour with Brad Paisley. You do that. Or the Florida-Georgia line. Go on tour with them.
Me?
Yeah,
I don't even know who they are. Seriously, who is that?
They touring with Nelly right now. Florida-Georgia line.
Oh, those guys.
Yeah, won't you go on tour with them?
I don't know. I've never heard a single song. I'm sorry, Nelly. Forgive me.
That's a shame.
Yeah.
I'm going on tour
You're
with
trying
you.
to stereotype me, and you swung and missed again. Here's my bottom line on Odell Beckham Jr. I will give you that he has rare talent. It's just rare. I'm not sure I've ever seen quite all this packaged together. He has not been a rare performer yet. And he certainly isn't earning any highest paid contract in these off seasons.
He's not going to be the highest paid player. He's going to fall in line with these top rated receivers as far as guaranteed money, and he should gladly accept it. Because if you want to run the risk, Skip, you know Football is an inherently dangerous game, and the longer you go, the more likely there's something to happen. I'm going to take, if it's reasonable, if it's somewhere between 45 and, between 42 and $48 million guaranteed, I'm taking that.
Yeah, but sometimes ego gets in the way and you convince yourself that you are worth more than you've actually earned, and then it turns into resentment, which is kind of the issue here.
Skip.
That was some wisdom from
You're
Joy.
worth what somebody will pay you.
I agree. I
You're
agree,
worth-
but he's asking for it. He's kind of demanding.
I'm selling this phone for $3,000. They
Not that phone.
They
Not
say
that
it's worth
phone.
it's worth 20.
That phone is an embarrassment.
Stop it, Joy Taylor.
How many phones do you have?
This is a battery. Look at that.
Cam